At some point for this class by the end of the week. But for the moment, I would appreciate next to your name. If first name, please write it down. Like. Introduce myself, Sassmore. You'll find names. My office hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right before this class. Thursday afternoon, none of that works. By a we can set something and figure it out. I've got all of in person Google Meets. Can't physically make it down. We can set that up. I have been at Seton Hill for 3 years. I have been in higher education for a little over 3 years. This is my first statistics course. Detail. I taught general descriptive statistics before, but this can be a lot farther than I ever taught before. And my last, probably parents were still school children in the 90s, so it's been a while. But we'll go for there. Do the calculations associated with business ethics about first chapter is primarily descriptive. A lot of work go through that. These are to do my goal through regression analysis, testing, predictive claims, and them up. If you get sick, the university isn't doing free testing. This is being recorded exactly on this camera. Will be on a YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is linked in our. If you miss a day, I right now, sitting here while the video is recorded, because y'all are going to ask questions that may or may not get picked up on my, and that a lot. I'd appreciate it sick as little as possible, but this is the universe, and it rarely goes the way I want it to. To that end, at the moment, eventually look around and know who's here and who's coming to correlated rates. That's what that means in chapter 4. It is clearly indicative of I think here helps. If you could get a book, take it and be done. Challenge exams give you a pass, you're done. And I have no master's final look like because I didn't. To that end, I'm going to from every single chapter set of exercises. Section of the chapter exercises to it. I have for most of those. That looks interesting. Ready to go. I'll post those. Worked out, typed up sheets with them, the whole nine. That way, when it comes to the end of the assignment, you have something to work with. That means it gets graded. It's the best place to make a mistake. It's more problem, 5 points. Story. That's a different story. We as soon as the center gets straight, which should be next week at the latest. Our Canvas and the app to their make sure, now here's the bad part, you're turning in stuff paper. Archaic, I believe, is to use your fingers, the pen and a piece of paper, Excel when I need to, but that means physically hand me stuff. Please make sure I can read it. If you need Excel spreadsheet, another one upstairs. They're all print it out, bring it to me. If you miss a app linked in that top module on this page, scan it, turn it into a PDF. Right now, there are scheduled exams and one a comprehensive. Now, the schedule, again, in that first module, shows you everything we're going to do on the day, I hope. This is covered when. Several sections, 6 sections in it. 3 days, I hope. If it doesn't work out perfectly, it'll still be there. First exam's the 25th of September. There you go. If you cannot make an exam, or going to be out, let me know as fast as possible. We'll set up a makeup. We're going in attire coming up Route 30 and make it. Send me an email. Picture with your phone. Office. Any message left via into a voicemail and emails it. So I'll get that message almost instantly. I'm not going to be here. The further in advance you let me know, the easier for me to work. On the other hand, this sucks. Fine. You are more than an exam. But should you choose to do so, your next regularly scheduled exam will serve for the missed one. You can take the chance and skip exam, double exam too. Please note, though, down here, it says exam 1 is 18% of your grade, which we skip that and double 1 50-minute period is 36% of. I think it's pressure. I don't want you to do that. I would advise. And to this, I had a student who does this, complete the class successfully. Gotten close, but it's only skipped an exam and managed to pass. Last semester, I was. And as you can see, the homework is about a quarter of your grade. That's so I have all day the ability to say, hey, this is where you're having some issues. Let's talk about what's on here. Please be interested for everything. You'll get to see what I was looking for. If you hit in this course, you are guaranteed to be plus. Even get an A minus. The final is done, and after all computed, then any curve would be calculated. This course is designed face-to-face, synchronous. So in spite of the fact that I'm recording things, I really think it's large bag equipment be against the over here. There, do not impinge the aisle. If we have to get out of here in a rush, straight across the hall, straight downstairs, across the street on the other side of that was our rally. You'll get some occasional numbers for starfish, required starfish surveys for university, and then occasionally things popped up there. Please make sure you can see that. It'll show up in your seat and help. Please make sure you check it often. If you need to contact me, email first. I'm an early riser, therefore I'm an early goer, which means if you get until, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock. But I will respond 24 hours to any email sent. There's a document on our Canvas page about good email communication and email etiquette. Please take a chance to read it and talk through it. I have a Discord server attached to all of the math classes. There's a channel for this course. If you want to join that and use that as a communication base, that's fine. Set up your Snapchat discussions. I don't care, but talk to each other, talk to me, however you need to get your stuff worked on. You've got there are no exit assignments. At this point, I have 16 total assignments. The homeworks and the exams. That's all I got. There might be questions, bonus points available times for at the moment, but there are no, it's to fix my brain. Ask if you own a time machine. Can you get to 88? Lecture, some of you will get it faster. You will be staring at me going, why are you doing this? I got it. I mean, somebody in the back will be like, huh? I'm until that face goes away. Please be distracted. If you can fall asleep, impressed, try not to. Everybody has got the opportunity to ask the questions they need to get the material internally. Make sure your email address is valid. Griffingate, Canvas. You can set up email for. And if you email me from a different account than your respond to it, send stuff, it goes to the seat. I don't remember who 5@yahoo.com is, but the email address stood out when I got here in 2002. But if you forward me something outside account, I'll read it, to it, I'll look to that when I go to send you something. Please vibrate or silent or whatever in the middle of class. I'm going to answer if it's an emergency. Hand your phone and say, get it. I'm going to say they're in the middle of class. Bye. Last year, as soon as his phone rang. 15-minute class period. You right now. I know that if you look at the Griffin book bundle, this came in not an ebook version. So you should get this out more often than your calculator. Computers, we're going to use Excel. Please make sure you have Excel installed. If you don't, you should go over to the IT and get it installed as soon. Please don't use products in this room. If you and you're a little cuspidor that never comes out of this carpet, we tomorrow 333 had to resand the entire. I am mandatory report for discrimination. If you see it, if you do something to me, I have to. From telling me things, it's because you don't want them reported. Here are some contact numbers and some information for people you can get in touch with regarding racial discrimination, sexual discrimination, gender, workplace discrimination. If you are entitled to legal citations for this course, Braille versions of the book is whatever via the accommodate, which means you fifth admin and talk to the Office of Disability Services. And Kim Bessie Cook, and she can help you. You don't have to tell me why. I'll work with you to figure out I can this classroom that will help you out and accommodate the need as best. Academic. If I could jack stuff the book into the back through that spike, I'd be done. We'd all go home. Have a great. Haven't managed it yet. Unfortunately, I can't make you know who. I can't turn around, blink, have your eyeballs for 20 years. The one thing this takes is practice. And what I will tell you is that there's nothing quite like, even when you're trying to practice it, figure out what you're. I have carried yoga for another years. People would ask me, well, what the hell? Keep me out of trouble. I worked one afternoon as around family in Boulder, and I say, I'll be people, let me know when you need something. And I learn new tricks. I get to talk to people who are like, oh, this didn't happen. I kept working it. I had not taken it. But that's what this is. At some point, you're going to in the middle of the semester where you what the on here. You have to make a decision. Are you going to say, nope, screw it, I'm done with this course, I'm out? Or figure out where this applies to you, how you're going to engage with it, and where, when you can meet with me, a tutor, classmates. You're surrounded by people who are in the same boat going, I don't know. Talk to each other. But that's what this is. I felt the head so hard I almost broke my nose. And this is, it hurt. That's okay. Be exercising the muscle between your ears. It's gonna hurt. But that helps you decide, yes, this is going to be worth the effort you put in. I don't know yet. I think it will be. And to that end, that means you should do what it takes. To this. Guarantee you can find every answer to everyone in this text. Won't even take about 5 minutes. The problem? Hit enter, Google will find its results. At least one of them is a link to Chad. The other one's a link to the solution manual. They're all out there. Some don't even write. The solutions manual I got from the manual, the summer, wrong in several places. Be careful. Practice academic honors in regards to this course if everything I want to learn online. Two things. Your exam will be on your pencil. You'll have done the math and asking you what it means. The math will be simple enough that the tools you need to use for it that means that can I do the calculation? It's do I understand what the happen means and how it applies to working in. And that's where your knowledge of the world comes into play. Because you say, here's the data, what decision are you going to make? You have to say, well, this data supports this decision. This data supports this. But these outsiders that aren't part of the matter to me. I want you to work together on the homework. I want you to work together with notes. I want you to understand and talk with each other. When I come to the exam, that's what's in your mind. And I have to be able to see it. That if all you've been on the internet. I'm 100% sure. Boss ask you a question in the middle of the presentation, Google that, you'll be. So, I'd love to tell you that the internet is the answer to all problems that AI and all of these structures will eventually take. They can't. Because this is about value. And whether our value and our opinion can justify. In one sense, that makes this a humanities course. Several of my humanities colleagues minds going, how dare you Trust me. Yeah. What question at this point? Chapter of this text, a gross overview. So somebody tell me what you know of statistics. What is it? What does it mean? What does it do? Probabilities of something happening. So in one sense, it's a method of how do we make those predictions? Trying to predict the future. What am I basing my prediction on? What numbers? It's a legitimate comment, but base it on the numbers. What numbers? So I'm going to make my future predictions based on what I know has already come and gone. The options I've already seen, the things that have already happened. Heads or tails? I'll pay you $1 million today if you can take this coin, flip it, it's got to go at least 8 inches in the air above your hand and land it on edge. Clearly, it'll stay there. Would you pay $1 to do that? You'll win $1 million. Hell, I'll make it $10 million. There's a casino in Vegas that has this as a casino game. They strap your forearm and your wrist. They put a silver dollar on your thumb. It's got to go over this bar in height. It's got to stay balanced on edge. It's obviously doable. How likely is it? There's my future prediction, right? How likely is it that I can flip that coin and have it land on edge? If I do it 1,000 times and I never see that, let's say it can't happen. So there are two different piles of statistics, two different main ideas. Idea one is to gather all this information and describe it somehow. I've done these experiments, I've talked to these people, I've done these surveys, and now I'll describe the information I have. You've seen that all over the place in all of your other classes. We talk about average grades, right? We talk about the distribution of grades. Well, a distribution is exactly that, a probability idea. It's how did the thing lay out? What is the overarching structure of all of these individual pieces of data? The other side of that is my predictive ability, the ability to make an inference, to infer from these observations what I have. So realistically, we have two main fields. And a statistic itself is just a measure of a pile of data. I get all of this information and I use it to create this thing. That's a statistic. So I have a room full of data sitting in front of me. What sort of questions could I ask that would fall into this descriptive statistics pile? about you all. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, no question. Brown hair or not, right? Any sort of question with a binary response like that, a yes, no. Do you have green eyes? Yes, no. And that would definitely be a descriptor. It doesn't just have to be a yes, no category. I could ask, what semester are you in? What year are you in? How many credits have you already taken? How many credits are you taking this semester? Who in here has the lowest credit load? Who in here has the highest credit load? What are those numbers? That's all describing a pile of data in front of me. What could I then do with that data to start making inferences? I could ask, hey, how likely is it that someone in this class right now has at least one credit? How likely is it that someone in this class is a junior or a senior? How likely is it that someone's a freshman? How likely is it that somebody got at least this much in financial aid? Now, that would require me to dig a lot further into the data that I don't have right in front of me, right? I'd have to go down to the registrar's office, pull up the financial aid data, and I don't know if they'll give me that. I don't know if I'm entitled to that. That's okay. I might not be. You'll hear the phrase data analysis a lot. And right now, data analysis is an unfortunate catch-all term. It's not really used well. It uses all of these ideas, including something called prescriptive statistics, which describe a choice of a path which may or may not have a particular benefit. Google Analytics is descriptive. It describes PageRank. An advertising campaign is predictive. Pricing is a predictive statistics or prescriptive statistics. Why? Why should you study any of this garbage? Because my advisor told me to. It's a crap reason. There has to be a reason they decided that this was going to be part of the business program. Why is statistics the required math course for business? I guarantee you, whatever your first job is, your first boss is going to ask you a question he doesn't know the answer to, none of his or her peers know the answer to, none of his or her supervisors or subordinates knows the answer. You might not know it either. But you will design a method to figure out what you need to get to determine that answer. And to that end, a statistical analysis, statistics is a tool that you can use to dig through and figure out what that right answer should be. I have 3 quotes. The first of which is from Stephen Hawking. If I say that name, you know who I'm talking about? The wheelchair physics guy. Stephen Hawking said, every editor I spoke to said that when I added an equation to the book, I cut the readership in half. This is his book, A Brief History of Time. And he said, so to the 3 of you who are actually reading this, if you see a PowerPoint slide full of numbers and equations and information, it is as if somebody hit you in the face with a fish. Wow. Absolutely and completely mind-numbing, unless you have the ability to put a handle on it. Say, wait, this is really describing this kind of statistical analysis or this kind of idea, and now it's not an impenetrable wall of numbers. I really only need this one and this conclusion. And I think that really does go together. And that goes right in the second quote. If you can't dazzle them with your brilliance, baffle them with your bullshit. And I guarantee you, a wall full of numbers baffles a lot of people. So you can use your statistics to hide the information you think doesn't support your case and promote the information you do think promotes your case. Smoking increases your risk of cancer. Yes? From the original Surgeon General's report, 1960 whatever, the anti-smoking lobby said there is a 20% increase in cancer incidences in this study. They were right. The chance of getting cancer if you were a smoker went from 0.0001 to 0.00012. That went up 20%. Now, mind you, the smoking lobby said 0.00001 is 1 in 10,000. 0.00012 is 1 1/5 in 10,000. A huge increase, man. It's a tiny increase. And so we had the huge issues between the smoking lobby and the Surgeon General and all of these people for 50 years. Smokers were hiding the data they didn't want you to see. Well, the smoking companies. Smokers didn't care. They just went outside and lit up. But that brings me to my third quote, and this is Samuel Clemens. There are 3 kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. You are going to be stuck with the largest collection of manure you've ever had the privilege of seeing put between 2 covers of a book. And in one sense, statistics is the process of sifting through it all and finding whether or not what you thought was going to happen, your prediction, justified. Now, I will guarantee you it is difficult for me to go around and figure out who the next president of the United States is going to be today. If you wanted to know who the next president of the United States was going to be, how would you figure it out without waiting until November 5th?
First, you can split it up between Democrats and Republicans. Previous years, Republicans, Democrats.
Okay, so that really narrows it down to 2 people. But at that point, what do I do? Flip a coin? How do I tell where I look at the poll. Okay, in 2016, approximately 4% of the people read. So the person who won in 2016, less than 20% of the voters in the country. The numbers alone, or at least the that
Look at past elections and then take data from that, like 20, like that.
making some estimates. Registered Democrats, registered Republicans vote. Counties in these states, that means that we have. How do I make this not a guess?
Look at which campaign raised more money.
That which week, right? Because as soon as the Democrats announced Kamala Harris as their candidate, they made $40 million that week. Trump made $4 million that week. And then 3 weeks earlier, it was exactly the other way around. So yes, absolutely, fundraising numbers matter. But it's that's kind of a, is that an indicator as to who's going to win or who's going to spend more money?
Well, isn't it usually like whoever raises more wins? It's like 90% of the time.
I would love to have some data that went with that. I don't know that's true. And it depends on at what level. We've had Senate races that have outpaced House races in the recent past, and the person who spent more money lost. So I don't know for sure, but again, that's an anecdote. That's not a gathered piece of information. I'd have to do a big examination of the last year's campaigns, right? I could do the 22 Pennsylvania races and figure that out. But that's 2 years old. And that's an off year. That's not a presidential year. I could do the 2021. What else can I do?
You look at who's leading in what swing state, because the chances are the big state.
How do I do that?
You could look at rallies in those states and see what they're doing.
I don't know. I don't know if the person who's going to go to the next Trump rally is just going to go to see whether or not he gets shot again. It's really a good question, right? How do I get this information? And the one thing none of you have said yet, I can ask people. I can take a poll. I can call people in those swing states and say, are you registered? For which party? Are you likely to vote or not likely to vote? If so, do you know who you're voting for? Saturday afternoon, my phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was somebody asking exactly that question. And I spent about 7 minutes on the phone. They were talking about the state auditor general race, of which I know this much. Are you sure you're going to vote for this? No. Are you sure you're going to vote against this? No, I have no idea who's running in this race. I haven't read that one yet. But I asked people. And that gives me a pile of data to work with. There are somewhere around 140 to 150 million registered voters in this country. There are 330 million people in the country. That means that less than half the people in the country are registered to vote. And last time, just over half of them actually voted. I said about a quarter of the population. So even if I ask all these people, how am I going to make 75 million phone calls this weekend? It ain't going to happen, is it? What do I do? This is a challenge. It may not be the presidential election that you want to know things about, but you have to figure out how to get at the answers to the questions that your boss just asked you that we don't know the answer to. When you all were very small, beginning of the Gulf War back in 2002, the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, made a comment about there are knowns and unknowns. Things we know. There are things we don't. But even there are things we know we don't know. The things we don't know we don't know. That's a scary idea. A known, unknown, and an unknown. What nowadays is referred to as dark data, information you don't even know you've got, or information you don't even know you're giving away. Your parents know where you are right now? Do they know down to the meter where you are right now? Could they find out? Sure they could. Everywhere you walk, you're giving away your location to within a meter. As long as you're carrying a phone. Surprising, isn't it? You don't know you're giving it away every time you walk through a room. But that sort of information can be equally important to your analysis. If I go around and I ask how many people in Westmoreland County are going to vote, I can base that off of historical trends. I can go back and look who raised money in this county, how much did they raise, who's got the edge here. Is Westmoreland County going to swing Pennsylvania? Maybe. I don't know. But I can look at what's happened. And that leads me to the challenge you all will face as business professionals. How do I get the data I need? How do I ask the right question? How can I be sure that the answer they gave me really answers the question I want to ask and gives me the data I need? Now that leads to a cycle. That I will go out, I will get information, I'll use it to make some predictions, and I'll go out and see if I can do it again and see if those match. Maybe I got abnormal data the first time, maybe I got abnormal data the second time. If you walk up to somebody on the street and say, who are you going to vote for president? They might punch you in the face rather than answer. That's why we have a closed ballot system. You don't have to tell anybody who you voted for. I don't want to know. And here's the problem. Math. Math gives you precise answers. Math gives you a number. A yes, a no, 5.372. Does that help? Statistics is about value judgments. Do I trust this information? Or do I think what just was given to me could have happened randomly? It is possible to flip a coin 6 inches in the air and have it land on edge. It is really, really, really unlikely that it will stay there. Probably bounce and then roll off and fall on its side. But how rare an occurrence is something? And how much of that information can I base off the past? How much of that can I predict towards the future? The entirety of this first chapter talks about ethical considerations. Herman Hollerith. Those of you with your computers open, Google that name. Who is Hollerith? Yeah.
American statistician, inventor, and businessman who developed an electromechanical tabulator machine.
He built an electronic calculator. Only he built it to operate on punch cards. So you could punch out these holes, feed the card through the machine, and it would count all the different holes that were in different places. And it could use this as a set of switches. Hollerith worked for a small company, International Business Machines. He built this electronic tabulator for IBM so they could gather data. In particular, Hollerith worked on census data. Who lives where? It's an important thing to know, right? We just did a census in 2020. We're going to do another one in 2030. The federal government's required to do one every 10 years. It's in the Constitution, black letter law. Hollerith took his punch card census system and sold it to different places to do their census work, including the German government. And one of the questions the census in Germany asked was, are you Jewish? And they knew where they all lived. Do you think Hollerith is a Nazi sympathizer? He had no idea what they were doing. He just said, here's a tool. It's a calculator. Your ethics choice. What you do with the data you get, how secure you keep it. Yes, I accept this tracking cookie on my MacBook. The website going to keep your information secret? I don't know. But the perception is as important as the reality. IBM was never accused of being Nazis. They didn't do this on purpose. To the same event, you might ask if the Bushmaster Company is responsible for a school shooting. They who made the gun, as much as Hollerith made the calculator. And that's gone to court. So this isn't a theory of vacuous fantasy. This has gone to court in the past decade. You have to be able to distribute your information. You have to make sure that you tell people, this is how I got the information, this is what I think it says, here's where I did my justification. If I ask the people in this room for information, how many credits are you taking? Do you think I'd be able to get a good picture of the university at large? There are 20 some odd of you. There are 1,400 students at Seton Hill. Think I'd be able to draw a good conclusion? The fact that you're all in my class, which is held in the afternoon, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, might tell me about what kind of student you are, and therefore might sway or bias the information I would get. If I don't take that into account in the way I gather my data, in the way I use my data, the one statement you will hear a lot of is the one I made earlier about attending class versus grades. Coming to class is correlated with good grades. It doesn't cause good grades. Cause and effect has nothing to do with statistics. But connecting things is something we will be able to do with statistics. Correlation versus cause. You'll also have to get the idea of whether or not something is important or whether it's significant. We'll talk about what it means for an event to be statistically significant. How likely or unlikely an event is to occur, then it happens. Is that weird? Well, even if it's a really unlikely event, it could happen. About a decade ago, we did a sexual violence on campus study. And they documented 3 reports. Campus sexual violence. One of which was proved. Somebody was arrested, tried, all of that here. Which meant that Seton Hill had a 33% violence conviction. National average 6 to 8. Seton Hill is insane. No, we only had 3. A huge percentage. unlikely chance. Yes. One proven sexual event, violence. A bad stop that. Decision based information you get. Is this not just, but is it? Talk about how we get data. We get out of it. That's the data we get. Thank you all very much. Most of the time, to a YouTube channel, I have typed or written, scanned, and uploaded. Wonderful day. Thank you.